What's up and welcome to another episode of Gizmo Slip Tech. Today we're taking a look at the Razer Blade Stealth. This is the latest ultrabook from Razer. On the one hand, the Stealth wants to be the ultimate ultrabook in terms of fit and finish, but on the other hand, it wants to appeal to the hardcore gaming audience out there by allowing you to hook it up to the Razer Core V2. The Razer Core lets you put a 1080 Ti into it, giving you the ultimate gaming performance when you're at home, even more powerful than the Razer Blade Pro 4K with the NVIDIA GTX 1080. The ultimate portability with the ultimate powerhouse when you're at home, that's the idea, but can it actually deliver on its promise? Let's find out. The first thing you'll notice about the Razer Blade Stealth is the incredible build quality. The unibody aluminum shell, the large touchpad, the rigid frame with minimal flex, the touch-enabled display with edge-to-edge glass all combines together for a super premium feel. The 13.3-inch QHD Plus display is also quite nice. At 3200 by 1800 resolution, 400 nits brightness, 95% color gamut, and really great contrast makes for a fantastic entertainment experience. The reflective glass display can be distracting in bright environments, but really makes the colors pop when indoors. Another thing to note is that the display doesn't have a great response time for fast action games, but realistically I didn't expect it to with this high of a resolution. Now Razer sent us the gunmetal gray version for this review. The other option you can get is all black with a multicolor chroma keyboard. The keyboard has okay travel for an ultrabook, but it's not quite as deep as I would like. And the other downside is that it has fat left right arrows and skinny up and down. I have never been able to like this setup in the past and still prefer full-size arrows or all skinny arrows for consistency. The backlighting on this keyboard is exceptionally bright, much brighter than your typically backlit keyboard. The downside is that the secondary function keys are not backlit. Speaker grills flank the keyboard on either side, and man, do they sound nice. This definitely has to be one of the best sounding speakers I've ever experienced on an ultrabook. Here, take a listen. Very clean, very little distortion, fantastic speakers. Pretty decent amount of bass in there too. The latest version comes with the quad-core 8th gen i7-8550U, 16 gigs of RAM, and up to 1 terabyte of PCIe SSD space. We did a speed test of the 512 gig SSD included in our unit and got 1500 and 1400 sequential write speeds. The 8550U not only has higher turbo speeds than last year's model, but it also has far better multi-core performance now with 4 cores. That means that ultrabooks like this one can finally step out of the pansy computing circle and into the arena of the big boys. While doing casual things, the laptop stays cool, but while gaming, it does get quite hot on the center of the bottom. The good news is that the palm rests do remain cool even during longer sessions, and the laptop didn't throttle down during multiple runs of 3D Firestrike Ultra back to back. For an ultrabook, the Stealth has a good amount of ports. On the left side it has a headphone jack, USB Type A, and a USB-C that doubles as a Thunderbolt 3, and power port. The cool thing about the USB-C doubling as a power port is that you can use Razer's power bank for additional battery life, such as on an international flight. On the right side it has another USB Type A and HDMI 2.0 port. The touchpad is responsive and large for an ultrabook, and my finger glides across it very nicely. Multi-touch gestures are also a breeze. The battery life on the Stealth will vary a lot depending on what you're doing. Razer estimates you'll get about 10 hours out of it, but I think that's a little bit generous. I was able to get about 6 to 7 hours of web browsing at 50% brightness, an hour and 45 minutes of gaming, but I suppose 10 hours might be possible if you're just taking notes with Wi-Fi off and brightness at 50%. As far as gaming goes, the integrated Intel 620 graphics card isn't going to do much. You can play light games on it like Rocket League or Counter-Strike, but that's about it. The good news is that when you hook this up to a Razer Core V2, it becomes more powerful than nearly all other gaming laptops out there. In my last video, I compared the Razer Stealth's performance with a 1080 Ti against a water-cooled custom gaming rig, and I gotta say, even though it lost, the Razer Stealth really put out some incredible performance. I'll have a link at the end if you want to check out that video. Even at high resolutions, you'll be able to play all of the latest titles on ultra settings. And if you're like me, I like to use a high refresh rate external monitor with a separate keyboard and mouse. The Core makes an excellent dock because all you have to do is plug in the Thunderbolt 3 cable, and the Razer Core powers the ultrabook and acts as a hub for all of your peripherals at the same time. That makes it very easy to take the ultrabook with you, since you can just keep the power cord in your bag, and when you get home you can just plug in one cable and you're good to go. There's obviously a lot going for this ultrabook, but what are the downsides? One huge downside for me is the lack of an SD card slot. Yes, you can get an adapter, but I'm not a huge fan of adapters. Another downside is the lack of an onboard GPU. There have been some ultrabooks recently released that come with the NVIDIA MX150 GPU, which is capable of doing some real gaming on the go. I'd love to see a version of this laptop in the future with an MX150. Another downside is that the battery life isn't as good as some of the competitors. So should you buy it? Well, I think if you're in the market for an extremely portable, high-quality machine to take with you, the Razer Blade Stealth is certainly a great choice. It's also a great choice for college students looking to take notes in class, then play games when they get back to the dorm and hook it up to a Razer Core V2. The gunmetal gray version would be great for business people on the go who need a classy machine in the office, but want a game when they get home. In my opinion, the main downside here is pricing. If you're on a budget, this setup is costly. $1,500 for the Stealth, $500 for the Core, and $800 for the 1080 Ti. For $2,800, you could easily get an $800 Ultrabook and a $1,500 custom gaming desktop, and you'd get similar if not better performance for less money. What you're really paying for is the ability to do all of this in one machine. Would I buy the Razer Blade Stealth? Personally, it doesn't work for me simply because I need a dedicated GPU in my laptop for video editing and gaming on the go. But just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean it won't work for you. If your needs on the go are not as extensive as mine, then the Razer Blade Stealth very well might be for you. If you're on the fence, I'd recommend giving it a try. You can always return it if you find that it doesn't meet your needs. Does it deliver on ultimate portability on the go and ultimate power when you're at the house? I say almost. The only thing I'd say that would really make this a much better overall experience would be including an MX150 GPU inside the laptop so that you can still do gaming and video editing with enhanced CUDA cores while on the go. Other than that, I think the laptop is an almost perfect solution for someone who craves the ultimate in portability and power when you get back home. That's my take on the Razer Blade Stealth. Link in the description if you want to pick one of these up, and link to my test comparing this with the Core V2 to a gaming desktop. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe and tap that notification bell. That's it for this episode of Gizmo Slip Tech. We'll see you next time. Brandon out.